Hey, this is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and this is Tuesday, September the 10th. This will be our chart lesson for today. I'm a little late getting this done. I apologize, but I'm still trying to catch up from being gone, so a lot of stuff going on here in the office and so forth. So um, apologize it's late, but that's, better late than never, I guess, is the way I'll leave it. So there were a couple of ways to see this day. For the most part, from the open to the close, we were in a 5 or 6 point trading range here, so not much happening during the regular hours. There were a couple of decent setups here, and there was still some other ways to see it. Looks like there's a bigger channel working up here. We had the break and then a new high, and then we kind of sold off and um, stayed within the trading range that we had really from 8:30 to the highs that were just here around 10 o'clock, just prior to 10 o'clock or whatever. But you could have also seen it as a spiking channel, which is how I really kind of played it there. But you come to the same conclusion either way. If you're using this as your trend line, you get a break here and move to a new high, and then we sold off but kind of came back and stayed in the trading range. Or if you saw it in this channel, we got the break, same thing. So you really come to the same conclusion. Or if you just saw the trading range, you still get the same things, other than you might have considered shorting, but the bias was really up today. So, I think it was a big risk trying to sell any of these highs. We did get a nice downtrend here, and so you might have considered selling in here, but I never really saw a setup that I liked, because I was looking more at the spiking channel here than I was this channel here. And so I didn't like selling there. And if you didn't get in, they're really, right in here on this, what I'd call, and I don't see any reason to enter there, because the only reason I will take that back, there is a failed second entry long here that trapped people. So I'm gonna go ahead and circle that but I'm gonna make it green. It was really an aggressive entry. There's too much overlap there, and I just don't like it. It turned out to be a really good play if you took it, but I don't like it, other than the fact that there's a trap and there's just so much overlap there, and there's a good chance this breaks lower and turns up and makes another leg, and it did turn out to be a pretty good trade. So if you saw that and took it, hey, great job. But I didn't like that. I wasn't interested in it. So, but let me show you what I did see. This was the first trade I saw that I liked. Second entry long. Because there's a little overlap here, you just about had to use a limit order. And it would have got filled one tick in. A lot of times, let me explain that to you. Notice the close is right here. That's what I will usually use. Like right here, it closed right here. So that's what I would use for my limit order. If you entered on this one, the close is right here, so I'd put my limit order right here, that kind of thing if I'm using a limit order. Actually, the limit order would have been probably off of this entry here, so I would have placed it right here, and notice you got just enough to get filled. There's a couple of different things going on here. We'll talk about that when we get there. So if you entered here, you had to, I think it worked either way. If you entered on a stop, you would have entered at 79.75. And no, it would have been a 4-tick failure if you didn't enter on the limit order. And so that's why you got to remember, you got to be able to get out before you get back up here to these highs. And notice it got right there and it failed and turned down. And so it ran everybody's stops and then went right back again. And that's pretty typical. So, if there's a lot of overlap and you don't get a really bullish revert bar or a really bullish reversal type bar, exit on the thing. So then your next chance to enter here, and this is a second entry because this is an equal high here, so you're coming down first entry, pull back. So that's a second entry long. Again, this is not kind of a reversal bar, but we hadn't really tested this yet, so it was a little bit aggressive to enter on a stop there. This is one you probably want to use a limit order. It did bounce right off that trend line as well, so there were a couple of different reasons why you might have wanted to enter here. I didn't like entering above this bar. Let me back out here and move this just so you can see. You could have gone ahead and entered there. Again, you probably would have wanted to use a limit order if you did, but by this time you just got so much overlap, it was better to wait, and you get this little trap right here. Notice this. We broke lower and then closed and went higher, and that's where you had to be thinking about entering. And this, so either above that or above that bar. And again, I would have used the limit order here, and it would have gotten filled that way. But now it's a failed second entry short, so you could have used the stop, and you see it would have worked. But any entering above any of those bars would have worked, as long as you keep your stop below the signal bar. And the next entry, you're coming off of really a not quite as high, and you got a first entry, a pullback, and then a second entry long. So this is kind of a second entry long here, a nice bullish bar. Again, this is one where you want to use a limit order. So you may not have got, I can't remember if, it seems like I didn't get filled till it came back. I can't remember if that was here or over here, but one of these, I had to wait on it to come back, and then I got filled, and then it went higher. I think even if you entered on a stop there and you kept your stop below your signal bar, you still would have got filled. But let's just see. That would have been a 80.75, and this went to 82. So you got filled on that either way. You had to ride the little pullback. Notice there's a failed second entry long here too, or second entry short, but notice it never triggered until here, and that's not a very good setup. Your entry would have been 81, and it would have been another 4-tick failure. There's not enough room to get out before reaching these highs up here. And so it was a little dangerous, in my opinion, to enter right there. I was looking at this more as a little trading range. I don't have my lines there, but let's just draw those so you can see it. Just always makes it so much easier, but you don't want to get too much stuff on your chart at once. A lot of times I'll remove stuff as the day goes along. But you can easily see there's a trading range there now, and it failed out the top, and then it comes down here, and it makes a little 1-tick trap right there. It really just creates a perfect double bottom is what it does, and then it goes higher. I didn't like the long setup there. I didn't like the fact that we got back inside the lower half of this, below this midline, because there's a chance it traps you and comes on down to here. So I didn't like entering there, but you got a second entry long here. Again, it's one you'd want to enter on a limp, wait for it to break higher and then drop you a limit order here. And you see, even if you didn't get filled here, it came back here and filled it. And if you got filled there at this close, that's 60, it's 81.50, and you see it went to, there's 82.50. So you got an extra tick out of that, and then it turns down again. And we already talked about this when you got kind of a down sloping. Really, I think it looks more like this right here. So you get a little break and then a move to a new low, and you can kind of, still don't quite have it steep enough right there. And we got a little break there. So if you were being really aggressive, you probably would have liked that trade. Then you had one down here, and again, this one's, now you've had several bounces here. There's really two legs. There's one leg down, a little correction, then a second leg down. But the fact that you had a break there, and then it's probably going to try to come higher, at least back to the EMA. There's plenty of room. Again, I would have used a limit order here if I took this trade. If you could get filled, I had to kind of chase this one by a tick to get filled. And I usually don't like to do that, but I did that here because I was really thinking that, hey, because I was looking more at this as this being a channel. That's the first break, so I'm figuring we're going to try to make a new high. And you can see we tried to do that. I liked entering this one if you use a limit order. And then same thing here on the second entry. You had to use a limit order, and you see it would have got filled all the way back to 78.75. And then that was the last trade. Then we just kind of went into that stuff. So it took that trade a little bit of work to work out. But if you follow the rules and keep your stop below the signal bar, even though there was a play, and there is a failed second entry short here. It's really a third entry that failed, but notice this, you got this line moving up, but you could have called it off this double top, first entry short, second entry short, but there's still a trap in there, and this is a big reversal bar. You might have considered going long there. It would have worked. I was done by that time. So and it's not a great setup. The only thing that you might have considered is there is this trap here where you want to tick lower and then reversed off that. And you know, if you were looking at this channel, you're looking for a retest as well, so you're kind of expecting prices to go higher. In the end, though, looking back at this, it's just a big trading range to me, though. So and you see there's just really a lot of resistance at 82.50, and all the support is at 77.25, and we bounced there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 times today. So you got to pay attention to that stuff. And there was also one other trade right here. You might have gone long right here. Again, this is another aggressive one. I'm going to cover it in green. I wasn't going to even talk about that one, but I took it. So it's really looks like a trading range kind of right there. But what I was looking at were those lows across there, and this made a perfect double bottom. And then you kind of had this little bullish bar. So I dropped my limit order right in there when it broke higher, and I did get filled, and this one moved on up. It took it a little while, you know, but I was looking at like, hey, we're probably at least coming back to right in there. And then that also kind of makes this a little breakout pullback long by looking at it like that. Even if you had it down here, it's still a breakout pullback long, second entry. So there were multiple reasons to enter this one. You just had to use that limit order to make sure you got out of it. And we didn't have these highs yet, so this wouldn't have been there. This was really more down here or right across here. So it was a little bit different looking at that point of day too. So this didn't come till later in the day by using these highs. And you can see we got up here and it faltered right there at that same place again. So so that's what I saw today. I didn't really like any sales. This is the only one I might have considered selling, but you know, this thing is all uphill. You're just really taking a chance to sell it. And you know, even this, you might have even considered using range rules here, especially on that big reversal bar. That would have been a good short. But again, the trend is up and you're taking a chance because there's probably going to be a retest, and you see what happened. Even though that trade would have worked, to me it's not worth taking. So, and I get a lot of people that question me on that. You know, the trend will be up all day and they'll want to know why I didn't sell off the highs. And that's why, because one thing I will say is that, you know, I was looking, what I was looking for possibility to happen is here's our first leg up and then our little correction. So my target was somewhere up here, and you see we never got very close. We never even got close to it, but that's what I was looking for. So I was a little surprised when we broke it here and made the new high, and then I thought, well, maybe we're going to reverse, but it just turned out to be a trading range today. So but that's what I saw today. Nothing really out of the ordinary here, and again, there's multiple ways you could see this. So, you know, depending on how you saw it, you know, you might have seen this trend channel, you might have seen the spiking channel, but either way, you really got the same outcome. So I don't know any other way to put it other than, you know, it just shows you don't have to get your lines exactly right, but you got to be in the ballpark. And really both of these are valid, and then the trading range is valid as well, except the bias was up today, so I don't know if I would have been selling any of these. I think you were really taking a risk by selling anything off the highs. Doesn't mean it didn't work or wouldn't work, but it's just too risky. So the idea of what we're trying to do is we're trying to find the bias and stay with it so that we put the odds on our side. And anytime you try something that's, you know, that's not with the bias, it doesn't follow the rules, then you're changing your odds considerably. It doesn't mean it won't work, just like it doesn't mean that a perfect setup won't fail, because anything can happen in the markets. But our goal is to be patient and wait on the setups where we're expecting them, which is along this trend line or along this trend line, or when you're in the upper half along here. And so that's, you know, and then there was really a little trend channel down here. Show you this one that I was looking at earlier today. I was done trading by this time, so I wasn't that interested in it, but it was still there. And you can see that little channel, and you got a break, and then we try to move to a new high, and now it's trying to sell off again. So and this is just your little trend from up in the channel, then trend down in the channel, and then trend back up in the channel. And that's, that's what you want to see. That's what you're looking for. So, but anyway, not much else to talk about today. That's really all I see. So I'm going to wrap it up, and we'll be back to do it tomorrow. So I hope you had a good trading day. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.